Hi guys, hope you can hear me. We got all sorts of noise around us. That is an awesome LT4 pulling out. And we're going to talk about cooling here. This is also an LT4 and it's black. It's in the desert. We're pushing 110 to 115 degrees right now. And we got to keep this thing cool. We got 40-inch tires, armor, 1 tons. So let's look at some of the coolers we have on this Jeep. So this is our intercooler. And it's water to air, obviously. This carries the cooling water back into the intake where there's a heat exchanger. That vehicle has the same setup. And that's a lot more compact than an air-to-air intercooler, meaning you have like a giant 4-inch pipe coming in here, and it's also more efficient. Second, we have an AC condenser back here, and that AC condenser is a manual transmission condenser, so we don't have all that clutter on the bottom of the automatic transmission cooler, which doesn't work. And I'll show you the automatic transmission cooler here soon. Behind that we have the radiator, and that is our new dual header radiator that Motec has designed. And when these Jeeps flex, they tend to flex the radiator, so we designed a radiator that can withstand that flex just like the plastic aluminum radiator. So let's get this thing up in the air and look at some of the other coolers. So we're underneath, and you can see that the exhaust has been wrapped with this heat tape all the way from the manifolds to where the skid plates end. Yes, you can see that we have full skids here, and there really is no venting, which I don't like, you guys know, but by wrapping that exhaust we can keep the heat down. We do have an Atlas in this. Dan did a really nice job on the exhaust, as you can see. This is an LT4, so we got a 1410 rear CV and a heavy duty transfer case. That's not a regular Atlas, that's their race case. And you can see over here we have the rail coolers. This happens to be for engine oil, and we've got the hydraulic line crimped, and it's coming back here to an additional cooler that is recessed up in the back where the muffler used to go. We got both the transmission and an engine oil, and when we combine all this together, this Jeep ran cool on a 110-degree day out crawling on the mountain at higher altitude. So it took a lot. That's 7 coolers to keep this Jeep. And one of the things you need to keep in mind is that this Jeep isn't putting all the heat into the radiator or the engine compartment. We're putting heat out here, we're putting heat out in the back. We're offboarding as much of this heat as we can. These converters do have shields on them. These are full-size converters, and they can stand up to the LT4. You notice that we got heat tape on everything. And we take it serious here in Vegas because when we're pushing 115-degree temps in an engine that is 10-to-1 compression with over 9 pounds of boost, that is a lot of heat we got to get rid of. So I had this LT4 out at the mountain, went up the passes. We were pushing about 180 to 190 degree tranny temps. Prior to all the coolers, we were going well over 200, 240, 250. And our coolant temp is staying pretty good. We're staying below 230. But remember the load that we have on this. Let's take a look at something else. Now here's another LT4, and you can see that we have basically the same setup, but this is a much lighter Jeep. It's got a lot less drag. Now let's take a look at this Jeep, because I'm going to have to be doing a test drive on this soon. We didn't build this Jeep. This was done by a competitor. I just want to show you some of the things you shouldn't do. First, notice this. Now, you might get away with that back east or Midwest, wherever this Jeep came from, but you're not going to get away with it here in Vegas, especially when you look at under the hood. So again, we didn't do this build. This is a competitor build. It's got a 6-liter engine in it with a 5-speed transmission. It's here to have the 5-speed removed and a 6-speed put in. But look at what we got here. We got a stock radiator with a stock early model fan. Now I can tell you right now, it is hot out there, and we got some big tires on this thing. This is going to overheat going up the pass. I can tell you that without much reservation. Even if we opened up this grill and removed this light bar, we just don't have enough cooling capacity in this, and really nothing is off-boarded. There is no off-board coolers on this. So we're gonna try it. We're gonna see how it works. Now, I can tell you out here in Vegas, we've measured underhood temps in excess of 300 degrees. I've seen the plastic melt under these engine compartments. Maybe that's not something you see in your neck of the woods, but it's something we see here. I've seen these wires get to the point that they short out and catch on fire on these compressors when you try to run them. And we like to mount these compressors under the seat for that reason. So we're going to be checking this Jeep out. I really don't have a lot to say about it yet. It does have the 5-speed, and I'm not a really big fan of the 5-speed. We'll compare it to the 6-speed. If we compare it to this Jeep over here, this Jeep has basically an LS3. I think it's an L99, but we've got a Camaro SS fan in this with a 19-inch blade. It really screams, and we've got a heavy-duty aluminum radiator. Notice that it's spring-mounted to last here in Vegas. These Jeeps really have to be built to last out here in the Southwest. You're not going to get away with this out here. So we're going to be doing a test drive on a lot of these Jeeps. Here is the awesome 5.3 LT. I got to say that this Jeep with a 10-speed, and you may not had a look under the hood before, but here you go. This Jeep with a 10-speed is just awesome. It shifts like a dream. It's probably got more power than most of the early builds with the larger engines, like the 6-liter LS, the 5.3 LS, the 5.7 Hemi, the 5.7 VVT Hemi. I'd put it up against this 5.3 up against them any day. Now, we didn't remove the grill inserts in this because it wasn't running hot. He has smaller tires on this, less of a load. The Jeep is black, but again, you can see we're running the powerful 19-inch SS fan and the heavy-duty radiator. That's our steam port, which is really important. You'll notice on the LT that the steam port comes out here. So when this is a reverse flow cooling system, so when the water comes up the heads, the bubbles get purged out into here. If this wasn't here and those bubbles built up, then you would have an air pocket that eventually would cause the water pump to cavitate, and then you're not going anywhere. I'm really impressed with this 5.3 LT. I know you guys like these shop videos, so while I'm walking around, let's take a look at this. This was a build that came from somewhere back east. I don't know exactly where, but we had to replace the frame. I think I showed it in an earlier video. The frame on this was just too rotted out to reuse, so we changed the frame. We put axles in it. It's got metal cloak suspension. We had to, or we're going to have to redo a lot of these brake lines because they're just rotted away. We got an L86 in this, and I think we should be dropping the body next week. A lot of work went into the chassis. We got an Atlas in it. I think we got a Dana 60, and I'm not sure if it's an 80 or a 60 in the rear. It's going to be a nice build when we're done with it, but this is the attention to detail. You can't just put the body back on when the frame's rotting away. So we had to do a lot of extra work on this one. This Jeep, a lot of you guys know, and also know that this Jeep has some secret stuff in it that we've been developing, and you're going to be seeing a video on that soon. And let's step over and look at another LT4 build. These LT4s are getting quite popular. They're just awesome engines. As most of you guys know, we pretty much pioneered the LS swap over 10 years ago, and our whole MO, or method of operation, was to leave the GM powertrain pure, as you can see here. So we have a GM engine, a GM transmission, GM controllers, GM calibrations. In fact, way over there is an LT4 with a 10-speed, with a completely factory stock 10-speed LT4 tune, and it runs phenomenal. And what ends up happening if you try to hybrid or change or mix and match is you just run into a lot of issues. And the way other shops have approached that is not how we approached it. We wanted to keep everything pure, and that's one of the reasons this Jeep is in here. This Jeep is running a 5-speed Chrysler transmission behind a GM engine with different modules that interface it, and weird stuff's going on. So we're going to talk about this Jeep. We're going to do a drive on this Jeep. I'm going to be as objective as I can, but this is not the way I prefer to do things. I prefer to do things where everything remains GM. And when we look at this Jeep here, we got an L86 in this, but it's got an LT1 intake. We dynamatted the whole bottom side. We got a 10-speed in this, just a phenomenal powertrain. And we'll be, we got so many test drives to do, guys. We'll be trying to catch up on this stuff. So see you soon.